5 seconds?
Mhm.
Yeah. We'll start.
We're live.
Well, this will be my gavel this evening. I think all of our stuff got taken to the city, civic center. All right, so I'd like to call the City of Wagner regular business meeting, July the 6th, 2020 to order at 7:05. First item on the agenda is invocation. Mr. Abernathy, could you unmute yourself and give us the town blessing, sir? You don't have to kill the dog, though.
I'm so sorry.
Mr. Abernathy, unmuted.
I'm trying to find him. He disappeared. He's gone.
Larry, can you hear me?
Modern technology.
I apologize, ladies and gentlemen, this is like TV production, so I would like to get back to see on. Larry?
There he is.
All right, Mr. Abernathy, can you hear me? Okay, I was going to go ahead and give the town blessing, if y'all could, just give me a minute. Dear Heavenly Father, bless our town with this new year, July 1, 2020, as we go into our fiscal year. Make all the decisions that we make be best for the long-term benefit and gain for the future generations of Wagnerites to call home and be a blessed city. Amen. Next item on the agenda is Pledge of Allegiance. Chief Haley, could you unmute yourself and give us the pledge, please?
Can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
Salute, pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Next item on the agenda is approval or corrections to minutes of June the 1st, June the 11th, June 15th of 2020. Sure, all. Okay, I'm gonna unmute all the counselors and I'm just gonna ask you if you could just stay unmuted. We can make this go a lot better.
I'll make a motion, Stanley, to approve the minutes as stated.
Sullivan second.
I have a motion and a second to approve the minutes as stated. Ms. Rhonda, please call the roll. I'll go ahead and ask Rhonda.
Butler,
Yes.
Wagner,
Yes.
Vogel,
Yes.
Schilling,
Yes.
Roden,
Yes.
Abernathy,
Yes.
Sullivan,
Yes.
Stanley.
Yes.
Next item on the agenda is approval or denial of claims. City to include 196 through 218, their manual warrant. EMS to include 108, 118, their manual warrant. Economic Development Fund 63 through 74, and city project number 17.
I've got a question, Mayor.
Yes, sir, Mr. Vogel.
Under the city claims 214, was that, just curious what that was for. I mean, it just says clean and organized museum.
Oh, sorry, I was trying to look it up. Yeah, so what we did is after our renovation, budget that you guys graciously gave me, I think we came in about $30,000 under the limited budget that we got. Maybe it was 20. It was the time before it got, hot, because there's no air conditioning upstairs. So we were able to, hire a part-time person to help Dale out in cleaning that up and going through that. She was a seamstress, and I don't know how many weeks it took. It was like less than 2 weeks, and they also organized and got the stuff out of the room that it was situated in, the admin building that the school's allowing us to store some stuff. So, does that answer your question?
Yeah.
Okay. Any other discussion?
I don't have any others. That was the only one for me.
Approve all claims as stated.
I'll second it.
Okay, I have a motion and a second to approve claims as stated. Ms. Ronald, would you please call the roll?
First, I need to know who
Butler,
made the
second.
motion.
Mr. Wagner, sorry, Anthony Wagner.
And Vogel was my second.
No.
Sorry.
Butler.
Butler. Okay, sorry.
No worries, I'll try to help you also, just to make sure I get it straight.
Okay, all right. Butler,
Yes.
Wagner,
Yes.
Vogel,
Yes.
Schilling, Roden,
Yes.
Abernathy,
Yes.
Sullivan,
Yes.
Stanley.
Yes.
Next item on the agenda is the mayor's report. As we all know, a very busy month, the month of June. Started out with Representative Hearn was here, just to stop by one day, actually the same day that we had the March for Injustice that turned out really nice. I know there were several people there on this council. Also, we got Mr. Elam and myself, we took some other tours of some another city, more particularly Sallisaw, just to kind of get a feel on how some things are done in other communities that are public power. We had the Metropolitan Environmental Trust board meeting, where as we go forward with this recycling depot, we actually got to meet with the board. All of the cities that are part of the Metropolitan Environmental Trust have a board, and we were on the agenda to see if they would allow us to be part of that trust. And as you know, we've had the pilot project for all 18 months now with the Pepsi grant on the recycling trailer. So going forward, I think there's some exciting things for people that are wanting to do the recycling. And I do know that UNARCO is also in sponsoring with us once we get our depot, recycling depot is what they call it. Once we get that established, they're wanting to help us because they're canceled their recycling program in the hopes that ours does real well. Also, there's a lot of, a couple of board members or council members know the airport. We've gone through a lot of things on the airport board. We met with Garver about the planning and going forward in the future. We got the lease agreement with the hangar owners out there in July 1st was the effective date of that. And that's going, ongoing. We got the budget approved with all of the meetings, as you guys remember. Nothing much came out of the EODD meeting. That's the Eastern Oklahoma Development District meeting. Hopefully we'll start seeing some more things for Wagner coming out of that. And As you may or may not be aware of, there has been a minor emergency clinic that is going to be setting up shop in the city of Wagner. They have closed on their property. And they applied for their demolition permit today. So where the Asian Star Restaurant currently is, will be raised in a minor emergency clinic put in that space. Also, we brought the depot back to town. It's been a 5.5 year process, it seems like. And we've done an agenda item to issue on the next agenda item to talk about that. Also, we had one of the greatest fireworks show. Everyone said, I heard nothing but good things. Also, some people, including myself, was under the understanding that the school was not going to open the football stadium, but my understanding that they did, and then they had concessions. So I know I got a little bit of flack from that, and I apologize, council, for what I understood to be happening. So that is all for the mayor's report this month. And unless council has a specific question. Hearing none.
There's a lot of background noise. Hey, AJ, Mr. Mayor, there's a lot of background noise. I don't know who it's coming from, but like can we just go ahead and mute everybody and then they can unmute when they're not, when it's time to talk? Because I couldn't hardly hear the end of that.
Yes, sir. I totally understand. And we'll do that. It's just going to slow the meeting down a little bit because Miss Rhonda, we have 8 people to unmute, and the way that it's set up, we have to ask you to unmute. So you can ask.
I would rather unmute and be able to hear you.
Okay, absolutely. Is there any further discussion on the mayor's report? Hearing none, I would entertain, I wouldn't. That's not, sorry, Roger, you got me confused. Next item on the agenda is discussion and possible action to approve or not approve change order number 2, project 1808, train depot and cars relocation, Hauser moving and demolition. Mr. Elam, would you like to address?
Mr. Elam, you're still muted, sir.
How's that?
There you go.
Okay.
Hang on. Wait just a minute.
Okay. This is a change order for the train depot on-site work. The cars and the depot itself have been moved to the site. Once it was gotten to the site, the determination was that the major beam that runs the length of the building and on both sides had dry rotted to the point where it was gone and not usable whatsoever. So a system had to be devised to attach the building to the stem footing or the concrete block footing wall that had been constructed or was to be constructed. The conventional method is what we decided upon, which is a sill plate and hangers for the floor joists, that existing floor joists. There was a meeting on site to meet with the contractor that was actually doing the moving work, and he gave a really good quote, all-inclusive quote for doing this work, including putting in the concrete stem wall, anchor system, and the actual sill plate or the 2x8 steel or sill plates that are necessary to accomplish this. This is all as a result of determining once we got to the site that the 4x8 beams that were attached to the building itself were dry rotted and not usable. And so if those had been usable, then we could have attached that directly to the stem wall. But with that, we got a price from him that was all inclusive, which does require, or at least there will require some city coordination. City staff will be some of the city workers will be made available to him at the time that the building is actually placed and the floors leveled so that we can get shims in place as necessary. The total price for the change order is $12,750. And he has asked for another 60 days of additional time to complete that work, which is a substantial amount of time, but in all likelihood, he'll get it done much quicker than that. I had a conversation with him this morning, and we went over all of the aspects of this change order just to confirm that he understood and that we were all on the same page as to what we expected and what he was willing to provide. I'll answer any questions you might have.
So we're going to unmute all the counselors real quick, see if they have any discussion and for possible action.
Okay. If there's no questions, I'll mute myself.
I have a question. This is Counselor Bogle. I inquired about the condition of the building before it was moved. Was the condition of these beams not known? Because when I had spoken to Taylor, he said that the building was in pretty good condition and that, you know, these kind of things had been ruled out previously. So just curious.
Okay. I'll answer the question. We did take a look at the structure when it was out on the original site. And at that time, the beams were pretty much all in place. We knew that there were going to have to be some issues or some places where the beam would have to be replaced, but we were in hopes that the transit would not cause the beams to disintegrate. Unfortunately, whenever they actually started moving the building, the dry rot was much more extensive than we had anticipated. And by the time we got to the site, just poking around on those dry rot or the beams determined that dry rot was everywhere.
Going on. I thought he was different, but he gave your key to his heart and his house or whatever. Now this. I know.
Any further discussion? I would entertain a motion. Are all the counselors unmuted?
Maybe I should go to New York just to kind of confront him, like, you know. Let's see.
I have a question. Sorry. This is Counselor Bogle again. Are we able to do this change notice?
Oh, yes, sir. Yes, sir. And one of the other things that Steve didn't mention is that also our code enforcer, you know, we have to follow the same codes and we're going to do the tie down. So I think that's kind of some of it. Maybe they're just sitting back on the bench, but he can't do that. So we have to abide by our own code.
Locally before.
But yes, to answer your question, yes.
But I like the sense of adventure.
Any further discussion?
Stanley. I make a motion to approve change order number 2, project 1808.
Roden seconds.
I have a motion and a second to approve change order number 2 as written. Ms. Rhonda, would you please call the roll?
Butler,
Yes.
Wagner,
Yes.
Bogle,
Yes.
Schilling,
Yeah.
Roden,
Yes.
Abernathy,
Yes.
Sullivan,
Yes.
Stanley.
Yes.
Next item on the agenda is discussion and possible action to enter into an agreement with Infrastructure Solutions Group for engineering services for the city of Wagner for the fiscal year 2020, 2021.
I am leaving for Australia today to be my
Mr. Elam.
I can take over. Council, this is just a standard engineering contract that we try to engage with Infrastructure Solutions every year for the work performed for us. As you can see in your packet, has the information in there. This is pretty much just a routine situation. I'd be happy to answer any questions you may have, or we have Steve here with us that can answer any detailed questions.
Any discussion, council? I would entertain a motion.
Abernathy, I make that motion.
Butler, second.
No, I turned mine off.
We have a motion from Mr. Abernathy and a second from Mr. Wagner. Ms. Rhonda, would you please call the roll?
Butler,
Yes.
Wagoner, Vogel,
Yes.
Schilling,
Yes.
Roden,
Yes.
Abernathy,
Yes.
Sullivan,
Yes.
Stanley.
Yes.
Next item on the agenda is discussion of possible action. Police Department to hire Shelby Sullivan as full-time dispatcher. Development Services to hire Scott Hayes as city planner. And Fire Department to hire Jimmy Cagle as assistant fire chief. Note, the council may adjourn to an executive session for the purpose of discussing the above item pursuant to Title 25 OS, Section 307 B1. Start out with Chief Haley. Do we need executive session?
No, not on my behalf.
Okay. Dwayne, do we need executive session on the fire department?
No, sir, not on my
Okay.
behalf.
And I know we don't need one on development service. So we'll start out with Chief Haley.
Yes, we had a full-time dispatch position that was open. We conducted interviews. We actually had one candidate that did come and interview that was actually working at another local police department in the dispatch capacity, so she had some experience. So she was the one that we chose, and I would recommend that we hire Shelby Sullivan effective June 29th at $13 an hour.
Council, any discussion, Chief Haley? Chief, could you tell me that rate again? It was 13 what?
$13 an hour.
Even? Okay. I'll entertain a motion.
Stanley, I'll make that motion.
Bogle, I'll second.
I have a motion and a second to hire Shelby Sullivan as full-time dispatcher at the rate of $13 an hour, effective June the 29th, 2020. Ms. Rhonda, would you please call the roll?
Butler,
Yes.
Wagoner,
Yes.
Vogel,
Yes.
Schilling,
Yes.
Roden,
Yes.
Abernathy,
Yes.
Sullivan,
Yes.
Stanley.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Development Services to hire Scott Hayes as city planner. I'm gonna ask Ms. Lori, our HR, if she would like to present that one.
Thank you, Mayor. As everyone knows, Taylor chose to leave us. But we conducted interviews last week and Scott is actually here with us in the Zoom meeting right now. Scott, if you'd like to, wave whatever you want to do. Anyway, I recommend that we hire him effective today, July 6th, at $35,000 a year.
How much?
Have any questions? We do have, and if you have not met him, I would encourage you to swing by City Hall and introduce yourself to him, council. Anyone, we can unmute him if anyone has any questions.
I missed the rate. How much was the rate?
$35,000 a year.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, sir.
Any discussion or questions? If not, I would entertain a motion.
Stanley. I'll make the motion to hire Scott Hayes, city planner, $35,000 a year.
Abernathy, second.
I have a motion and a second to hire Scott Hayes, the city manager, for the salary rate of $35,000 a year, effective July the 6th, 2020. Ms. Rhonda, would you please call the roll?
Butler,
Yes.
Wagner,
Yes.
Vogel,
Yes.
Schilling,
Yes.
Roden,
Yes.
Abernathy,
Yes.
Sullivan,
Yes.
Stanley.
Yes.
Next item, Mr. Elam.
Council members, if you recall, as we was going through the budgeting process this year, we decided to do some organizational changes within the fire department. We did post a opportunity for the existing firemen that's currently in the fire department to apply for the assistant fire chief position. We had 4 out of the current 5 firefighters apply for that position. We interviewed each one of them individually throughout that process, with questions numbering up to 15 different questions, et cetera, and have documentation of that interview. But we ended up with a unanimous decision that we felt Jimmy Cagle was best suited at this time to become the assistant fire chief at a rate of pay of $64,240, effective July 23rd of 2020 this year.
Dwayne, I had a little bit of feedback on the salary. It was 64,000 what?
$240.
Thank you, sir.
This is a salary position. This is a issue just like the current fire chief is in that regard.
And is Jimmy on the call?
Here's unavailable.
Okay, yeah.
Is Kelly on vacation or?
I don't know where Kelly's at.
His
so-
son,
Kelly's son had surgery today.
his son had surgery today.
Okay.
July 23rd. Any discussion for Mr. Elam on this topic? Not, I would entertain a motion.
This is Wagner. I'll make a motion to hire Jimmy Cagle as Assistant Fire Chief at $52,240 a year, ending 7/23/20.
Abernathy, second.
I have a motion and a second to hire Jimmy Cagle as Assistant Fire Chief at the salary rate of $64,240 a year, effective July 23rd, 2020. Ms. Rhonda, would you please call?
I had one question.
Yes, sir.
Sorry about that. It's just kind of delayed there. Is there any probation tied to this position?
Absolutely. I'll let Lori take that over.
Yes,
Standard 6-month probation, Marvin.
Okay, thank you.
absolutely.
I do have a motion
Yeah.
from Mr. Wagner.
And
And
a
a second. Ms. Rhonda, would you please call the roll?
Butler,
Yes.
Wagner,
Yes.
Vogel,
Yes.
Schilling,
Yes.
Roden,
Yes.
Yes.
Abernathy,
Yes.
Sullivan,
Yes.
Stanley.
Yes.
Next item on the agenda, discussion and possible action to accept a bid and enter into a contract with 3/4 inch clean rock.
Stop calling me Williams. It's Williams. No answer back.
There's just the one bid.
There
Yes.
is.
Very strange behavior.
Let's see.
Get some.
I'll make the motion to approve or to accept the bid and enter in the contract for the 3/4 inch clean rock at $9 per ton.
Have a motion?
I'll second Stanley.
Okay, I have a motion and a second to accept bid and enter into a contract with 3/4 inch clean rock with Kent Stone at $9 per ton. Ms. Rhonda, would you please call the roll?
Butler,
Yes.
Wagner,
Yes.
Vogel,
Yes.
Schilling,
Yes.
Roden,
Yes.
Abernathy,
Yes.
Sullivan,
Yes.
Stanley.
Yes.
Next item on the agenda is discussion of possible action to accept and enter into a contract for purchase of 1.5-inch crusher run. It appears we got one bid.
Ask for money, you refused. You are no longer about. He didn't delete his page.
I'll make that motion.
Okay.
Enter into
Butler,
contract
second.
with Keystone for 1.5-inch crush run.
Do I have a second?
Butler.
Butler, second.
I have a motion and a second to accept a bid and enter into a contract for purchase of 1.5-inch crusher run from Kemp Stone at $5 per ton. Ms. Rhonda, would you please call the roll?
Butler,
Yes.
Wagner,
Yes.
Vogel,
Yes.
Schilling,
Yes.
Roden,
Yes.
Abernathy,
Yes.
Sullivan,
Yes.
Stanley.
Yes.
Next item on the agenda, discussion and possible action to accept a bid and enter into a contract for the purchase of 3/4-inch Class A rock. And we got one bid.
I make that motion.
Okay. Mr. Roden made the motion.
Abernathy second.
Okay. I have a motion and a second to accept a bid and enter into a contract for the purchase of 3/4-inch Class A rock from Kemp Stone at $9 per ton. Ms. Rhonda, would you please call the roll?
Butler,
Yes.
Wagner,
Yes.
Vogel,
Yes.
Schilling,
Yes.
Roden,
Yes.
Abernathy,
Yes.
Sullivan,
Yes.
Stanley.
Yes.
Next item on the agenda is discussion and possible action to accept a bid and enter into a contract for the purchase of 1.5-inch Class A rock. And it appears that we got one bid.
I'll make that motion, Butler.
Wagner, second.
I have a motion and a second to accept a bid and enter into a contract for the purchase of 1.5-inch Class A rock from Kemp Stone at $8.50 a ton. Ms. Rhonda, would you please call the roll?
Butler,
Yes.
Wagner,
Yes.
Vogel,
Yes.
Schilling,
Yes.
Roden,
Yes.
Abernathy,
Yes.
Sullivan,
Yes.
Stanley.
Yes.
Next item on the agenda is discussion and possible action to accept a bid and enter into a contract for the purchase of field sand. We got one quote.
Stanley will make that motion.
Okay, I believe I have a motion from Mr. Stanley and a second from Mr. Wagner. To accept a bid and enter into a contract for the purchase of field sand from Muskogee Sand at $5.75 per ton. Ms. Rhonda, would you please call the roll?
Butler,
Yes.
Wagner,
Yes.
Vogel,
Yes.
Schilling,
Yes.
Roden,
Yes.
Abernathy,
Yes.
Sullivan,
Yes.
Stanley.
Yes.
Next item on the agenda is discussion and possible action to accept the bid and enter into a contract for pest control of 17 city property. We only got one bid and, Ms. Rhonda, can you explain to me why the other two bids that's done it last year?
We did just get the one bid, Mayor, and his affidavits were signed but not notarized on his bid.
This information was not in the packet for the bid. We'd like to recommendation to reject this and rebid.
Okay, so,
Abernathy, I make a motion that we deny the claim and rebid.
Second.
okay. I have a motion and a second to deny the bid and re-advertise, and take this up next month. Ms. Rhonda, would you please call the roll?
Butler,
Yes.
Wagner,
Yes.
Vogel,
Mr. Vogel?
Yes. Sorry.
Schilling,
Yes.
Roden,
Yes.
Abernathy,
Yes.
Sullivan,
Yes.
Stanley.
Yes.
Next item on the agenda is discussion and possible action to accept a bid and enter into a contract for quarterly street sweeping.
Is that price for each quarter or is that for the whole year?
That's each time that we would do it. Marvin, what we intend to do is once per quarter, as we have budgeted in there. This is the same organization that has done our street sweeping the last 2 times that we've had it done. There is one caveat in the conversation. If it's in the winter time and we have a lot of sand, it will need to be done by the hour, depending upon how much time they have to have out there. But we can control and monitor that as well. I think it's a good bid. I recommend approval.
Stanley will make that motion.
Wagner, second.
Okay, I have a motion and a second to accept bid and enter into a contract with quarterly street sweeping from Lot Maintenance of Oklahoma at the rate of $13.50 per quarter. Ms. Rhonda, would you please call the roll?
Butler,
Yes.
Wagner,
Yes.
Vogel,
Yes.
Schilling,
Yes.
Roden,
Yes.
Abernathy,
Yes.
Sullivan,
Yes.
Stanley.
Sorry. Yes.
Next item on the agenda is discussion and possible action to accept a bid and enter into a contract for Class C hot lay. We received no bids, so no action will be taken. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Next item on the agenda is discussion and possible action to approve or not approve resolution number 711, a resolution amending fees for emergency medical services provided by the city of Wagner.
This is Stanley. I make a motion to approve resolution 711.
Roden, second.
Have a motion and a second to approve resolution number 711 as stated. Ms. Rhonda, would you please call the roll?
Butler,
Yes.
Wagner,
Yes.
Vogel,
Yes.
Schilling,
Yes.
Roden,
Yes.
Abernathy,
Yes.
Sullivan,
Yes.
Stanley.
Yes.
Next item on the agenda is discussion and possible action to authorize the purchase of a E42 R2 Series Bobcat compact excavator. Mr. Elam?
Council, this is the one of a couple of pieces of equipment we had in the 2021 year fiscal budget. We just want to get your approval so we can go ahead and get this piece of equipment in the pipeline to be built so we can get it. We're looking at roughly a 60 to 90 day turnaround before we can even have this piece of equipment on site.
Okay. Any discussion or questions for Mr. Elam?
Dwayne, when they show up, they get it all ready to go and then hand it over to you, correct?
That's correct. They'll give us a rundown of operations, et cetera, and then they'll hand it over to us.
Okay.
If you recall, this is the piece of equipment we're purchasing for the street department and to be able to utilize in the cemetery as well.
Yes.
And you said to utilize in the cemetery as well, correct?
Yes, sir.
Is it any kind of, this is Abernathy, any kind of servicing of it for a while?
Can you repeat that, Mr. Abernathy?
Is there any kind of servicing that goes with it for a little while?
Yes, it has a warranty service agreement that comes with it for the first part of it, and then just like any other equipment is standard out. So, but yes, there is.
Do you know how long?
Not off the top of my head, I do not.
Okay.
2,000 hours.
Yeah, it should be in the packet there.
Yeah, that's what I'm looking for. I think it's 2 years or 2,000 hours, whichever comes first.
Okay, I see it now.
Yeah, sorry,
Yep.
sir.
I'm making a motion.
Wagner, I'll second.
Okay, I have a motion and a second to authorize the purchase of an E42 R2 Series Bobcat compact excavator. Ms. Rhonda, would you please call the roll?
Butler,
Yes.
Wagner,
Yes.
Vogel,
Yes.
Schilling,
Yes.
Roden,
Yes.
Abernathy,
Yes.
Sullivan,
Yes.
Stanley.
Yes.
Ash has a nice body.
For the next item, I'm gonna ask you to unmute Mr. Hicks and make sure Mr. Chief Haley is unmuted. Discussion and possible action to enter into an intergovernmental cross-deputization agreement between the United States, the Muskogee Creek Nation, and political subdivisions of the state of Oklahoma.
Like 90 days,
Chief Haley, I'll let you.
trying to remember if he deleted all evidence.
Yeah, over the last couple of years, there's been a Supreme Court case that's been going through the process in regards to whether or not the state of Oklahoma correctly ended the Indian Territory Creek Nation aspect of Oklahoma. There's expected a Supreme Court ruling anytime, actually today or tomorrow, as early as. This contract is a cross commission with Creek Nation in anticipation that the Supreme Court were to uphold what's called the McGirt hearing, in which case, if McGirt is upheld by the Supreme Court, we, local law enforcement, amongst other things, would not have jurisdiction over members of the tribe, any federally recognized tribe. This interlocal cross commission with Creek Nation would, in fact, give us the ability to continue to operate in what would be considered Creek Nation territory, which would be the city of Wagner part of, in lieu of not being able to actually conduct business with anybody that is a tribal member.
Does anyone have any questions for Mr. Haley or legal counsel? Mr. Hicks, is there anything that you would like to add?
No, not if nobody has any questions.
So we're going to be deputized. Our guys will be, and gals will be deputized as Creek Nation Light Horse or whatever they're called, or
It's a
BIA or
it's a cross commission with the Creek Nation Light Horse. There is a second, which is not a part of this process here. There is a further second contract that potentially could come down the pike later with BIA. But there's further activities that need to be done. But in order to even be able to begin that process, you have to have a cross commission with a tribe.
Okay.
The agreement provides that the signatories of the agreement, which would be I assume the BIA, the Creek Nation, several sheriff's offices around the area, probably some police departments, would make application to the individual signatories. And if approved, then their members, if they meet the qualifications of the approving agency, could be cross-deputized. This is not an automatic cross-deputization of all members of all these signatories.
I have a question for Chief Haley. Since I don't think the Supreme Court made the decision today, did they extend it again, or have you heard?
The last that I heard, there were 5 opinions that they still had to release. I know that was as of last Friday. I have read one of those 5 opinions today. So I don't know. I haven't heard whether there was any more today. I did speak to the U.S. Attorney last week, and he did indicate that the Supreme Court in the past has given up to 4 in one day. So if they don't today, they could add more dates, but it could be as early as tomorrow.
I didn't know if you had known they extended dates. I only saw one judgment come down today also, so.
Correct.
Any further discussion on this subject? If not, I would entertain a motion.
I'll make the motion, Roden.
Abernathy, second.
Okay, I have a motion and a second to enter into an intergovernmental cross-deputization agreement between the United States, the Muskogee Creek Nation, and political subdivisions of the state of Oklahoma. Ms. Rhonda, would you please call her roll?
Butler,
Yes.
Wagner,
Yes.
Vogel,
Yes.
Schilling,
Yes.
Roden,
Yes.
Abernathy,
Yes.
Sullivan,
Yes.
Stanley.
Yes.
Thank you all.
Next item on the agenda is discussion and possible action to approve or not approve ordinance number 950, an ordinance adopting and enacting a code of ordinances of the city of Wagner, Oklahoma, providing for the repeal of certain ordinances not included therein, except as hereafter provided, providing when this ordinance shall become effective, providing for sale and copies in the clerk's office, providing for supplements or change to code, and declaring an emergency.
I make a motion to approve ordinance
I would
number
like to, I would like to hold off on that if we could. I personally haven't, I mean, you guys can approve or make the motion or whatever, but I personally haven't had a chance to read them all. We just got these Friday, and it's a whole book of ordinances. I know we've seen some of them, haven't seen them. Just me personally, if we're the policymakers, I'd like to be more sure of myself as I'm reading these and have more time to ask questions.
I certainly
So
understand.
my motion would be to either table it or take no action at this time.
Okay, let's, we got kind of two motions going on.
Discuss.
Here, so, and this is very difficult because you're all not in the same room, so it's hard for me to look at you. So I think Mr. Hicks was saying something. So we're in the discussion phase right now, okay? Let's just discuss. Mr. Hicks, what were you saying?
Okay.
I certainly understand that there are no new ordinances in this book. This is merely a codification of the ordinances that have previously been passed. It is as best as I can make them verbatim, the ordinances have been passed. We have to have a code of ordinances. So I take the ordinances that have already been passed and put them in the code. They're verbatim for what's already been passed.
So,
Okay.
I didn't understand this one at first, but so I'm going to try to explain codification, and if Mr. Hicks, if I'm wrong, high likelihood that I will be. Will you please correct me? So we pass ordinances, and then when we declare them an emergency, they go into effect immediately. But some of the ordinances and some of the things that this body has changed, you know, goes through the planning commission, and then they either recommend this, all the stuff that Taylor has kind of worked on. Those things may go into place, but they're not really become law until they're codified. And I think that's what we're doing here is the codification. Is that correct, Mr. Hicks?
No.
No.
Sorry.
Okay.
Sorry, but no. They
Go
become
ahead
law.
and explain to me why I haven't explained it.
Okay. They become that law when they're passed and after they're published, and but there's nothing in there about the planning commission or anything like that. These and there's nothing in there about changing zoning or anything like that. For instance, the the chief, we had an ordinance. It was a criminal ordinance, misdemeanor ordinance that defined some crime. We have to put that in the code of ordinances before. Now we have 2 years after they're passed to do that, and that's what this is about. There's nothing new in it. If you want to wait to read it, it's okay. But there's nothing. new in it.
I mean, sorry, Mr. Hicks, personally, I would, I just, like I was reviewing some of them and I noticed that it did talk about the assistant chief on the fire department. We have 2 assistant chiefs now. So, I mean, I don't know how that's addressed. It talked about certain probation times and it didn't even address like the, like, I don't know if it addresses the volunteer firefighters bylaws. I know that, and I'm only talking about the stuff that I have a whole lot of experience with. And when I started reading that, I was like, man, this is the first time I've seen the whole book of ordinances together. And I know we voted on several, but it's a really nice book, and I mean, it's good to read, and just from it really is. I mean, it's nicely put together, and it's nice that we have something all typed out. Very nice to see. So, and it's clearly written, and I mean, I'd just like to take my time and have more opportunity to read through it. That's just my personal opinion. So,
and that's fine. I don't have a problem with it. I just want to be clear about what it is. It doesn't address anything about a chief of police that, assistant fire chief that has not been in front of this council. I didn't write anything and put it in there. Already voted on. All I did was take what you voted on and codified it and made part of a code. It probably doesn't address the fire chiefs because you haven't done anything on those, and I can't put them in there until you do. I just wanted to be clear about.
I'm not saying it's anybody's fault or anything or like that. That's just stuff that I had noticed and was making my own personal notes of.
Okay, I mean, I just want to be clear what it is.
Yeah, I understand.
Does anyone else have questions? I know Mr. Schilling has had the floor and he's expressed his concern. I don't know if anyone else would like to. Mr.
I made a motion to pass the ordinance.
So I have a motion to pass the ordinance, and also have, I don't know if Schilling was making a motion at the same time, so.
Yeah. I mean, I just wanted to know. Well, my motion was to either table it or take no action. I don't know which one it would have been.
Okay. I'm gonna ask the other counselors to chime in and get their thoughts. So we have a motion to table or take no action, and we also have a motion to approve the ordinance. That's the only 2 that I've heard from.
I'll make a motion to second the first motion.
I just want to get some clarification here. This is Bogle. So that to approve this ordinance is not changing any part of our current code. It is basically just putting it into a codification or codification. Is that correct?
It's an update. I just updated the code with those ordinances that have been passed since 2016. I put
Okay.
those in the code.
All right.
We've had a code for over 100 years, probably. I don't know how long, but a long time. And all this did was add those ordinances that we have passed since 2016.
Okay, so I'm gonna ask a legal question. Mr. Hicks, help me go through this. Are we on a timeline or?
Absolutely. Yeah. You have to do this every short answer is you have to do this every 2 years.
Yes, sir. I understand that. And so what I'm trying to get at is, I think Mr. Schilling, this is the first time that he's got to actually look at it, and there's probably some things that need to be done. He was specifically talking about his background in firefighting, and I think as he's gone through that code, I think maybe he brought some things to light that we might need to take action on. And if that's a good opportunity for us to come forward and take some action on some of these inadequacies that we see or whatever Mr. Schilling was pointing out. My question is we're not going to be we want to be amending anything. If we table this and take no action and come back and if I had or if a counselor had a whole bunch of things that they didn't like, we still could not take action on those. Is that correct?
You could not put them in the code unless you change them by ordinance. I mean, that's not, respectfully, that's not a good reason not to approve the code because, I mean, the code is what the code is. I didn't write the darn thing. All I did was take ordinances and put them in the code. And so if there's something wrong with what's in there and it needs to be changed, you'll have to pass an ordinance to change it. And then the next time we update the code, we'll put that update in the code.
Does that answer any of your concerns, Mr. Schilling?
Yeah, I mean, fairly well. I this is, like I said, just the first time that I remember seeing a big code book of ordinances. So.
Yeah, I totally get it. And like I said.
And I get that we've had these ordinances and they've been in place and all that. I totally understand that. And I know I voted on some of them and all, but I'm just familiarizing myself with them a little better. That was my.
And then, so I'm just gonna suggest this, maybe if whatever kind of action we take tonight, at least is you can go through it with a fine tooth comb and you can bring some things to light if this body needs to make.
Right. I mean, if it takes, if I need to withdraw mine and other counselors see fit that they are okay enough to pass them as it is, and then, and they pass, that doesn't mean we can't go back and review it later.
Absolutely. What I was trying to ask Mr. Hicks to make sure like that we're either going to approve them or we're not going to approve them. And if we don't approve them, then we've kind of got a timeline of the codification process, which is every couple of years. And I'm sorry that I explained it wrong at the beginning.
Roger, I had the same feeling when I saw that book. I was going through it and thinking that too, and got a clarification. And we can always review different ones at different points and stuff. I agree.
Absolutely. You guys are policymakers and you really should know the policies that we have in place and what we need to change. If we do change it, you can always bring those forward. But I think we have a motion and a second, unless there's any other discussion.
I was going to say, I'll withdraw my motion.
Okay.
So, and
is there any
I'll
other
still vote.
Mayor, I had a quick question.
Yes, sir.
Would we be able to put this on the next agenda as a discussion topic? Any kind of changes or something that we want to address in the ordinance code?
Oh yeah, going forward, absolutely. This specific agenda item, since we're on this agenda item, if you guys have changes, we have changes all the time.
No,
you can't. All about change. And if this is the first time you've read them, or maybe the 700th time that you've read them,
we won't update these once we pass this.
Oh, no, absolutely. I think what Mr. Vogel's question was that if he wants to next month have a discussion about some of the items that are in here. Is that correct, Mr. Vogel?
Yes, that's correct.
Well, wait a minute. You can't do it that way. I mean, you can have discussion items about things that are in there. You can do that. But you can't vote to amend the code.
Yes, sir. Absolutely. I think
You have to
talking about discussion.
You have to pass an ordinance, and then after the ordinance is passed, we'll put it in the code. This is merely a codification of what's already been passed.
Yes.
It's not a new, what's in there is not new. It's old. It's merely a codification of it. If there's something you don't like, you can have an ordinance and change the ordinance. The next time we update the code, we'll put it in there. If you pass it, it will be effective when you pass it. But we still have to codify it. We have to bring it up to. We have to either bring it up to date or publish them separately every 2 years.
Codification is what we're doing now.
Right. All we're doing tonight is codification.
Yes, I understand that. That's correct.
Any further discussion? I have a motion and a second if there's no other discussion. I had the motion was from Stanley and the second was from Mr. Abernathy.
Someone was finna talk. Someone was finna say something.
Okay, go right ahead.
No, someone was, I don't know who it was.
Hearing no further discussion, I have a motion and a second to approve ordinance 950. As stated, Ms. Rhonda, would you please call the roll?
Butler,
Yes.
Wagoner,
Yes.
Vogel,
Yes.
Schilling,
No.
Roden,
Yes.
Abernathy,
Yes.
Sullivan,
Yes.
Stanley.
Yes.
Next item on the agenda is discussion and possible action to declare ordinance number 950 an emergency.
Bogle, I'll make that motion.
Sullivan second.
I have a motion and a second to declare ordinance 950 an emergency. Ms. Rhonda, would you please call the roll?
Butler,
Yes.
Wagoner,
Yes.
Vogel,
Yes.
Schilling,
Yes.
Roden,
Yes.
Abernathy,
Yes.
Sullivan,
Yes.
Stanley.
Yes.
Next item on the agenda, discussion and possible action to approve or not approve resolution number 712, a resolution directly filing and notification of the publication of the Wagner City Code.
Abernathy, so moved.
Stanley second.
Okay, I have a motion and a second to approve resolution number 712, a resolution directing filing, notification of the publication of the Wagner City Code. Ms. Rhonda, would you please call the roll?
Butler,
Yes.
Wagoner,
Yes.
Vogel,
Yes.
Schilling,
Yes.
Roden,
Yes.
Abernathy,
Yes.
Sullivan,
Yes.
Stanley.
Yes.
Ms. Rhonda, I have a question. If you could remind me tomorrow, when we post these on our website, we have been getting a file 404 error. So if you would help me look into that tomorrow on our city website. Thank you. Next item on the agenda is discussion and possible action to renew the agreement for abatement services with Citywide Property Maintenance LLC.
Hey, this is kind of new to me on the City Maintenance LLC. Can you guys explain just a little bit? I mean, I think I know what they're going to be doing, but I guess this is changing from just putting out mowing bids. Is that correct?
Yeah, don't know if Mr. Elam's unmuted or anything like that, but so this is, we had started this agreement, back in 2019. And these contractors, I believe, give us the best deal, and it's just a re-up on that. Mr. Elam, are you available?
Okay. Oh, so it's the same. I'm sorry. It's the same one we've had in the
Yes,
past.
sir.
Then.
Yeah, it's the
Okay. I apologize. Some reason I was thinking it's a different company. So. Okay.
No, this was one I think that Taylor and Gordon just really prefer because they're, it's low cost and they get their bids and then they know the money that that this body approves for their budget and how many structures they can clean up or tear down.
Okay. Stanley, I'll make the motion to enter into that agreement with them.
Abernathy second.
I have a motion.
Abernathy second.
Larry was the second? Sorry, I did not hear. I have a motion and a second to renew the agreement for abatement services with Citywide Property Maintenance. Ms. Rhonda, would you please call the roll?
Butler,
Yes.
Wagoner,
Yes.
Vogel,
Yes.
Schilling,
Yes.
Roden,
Yes.
Abernathy,
Yes.
Sullivan,
Yes.
Stanley.
Yes.
Next item on the agenda, discussion and possible action to authorize the purchase of a T470 T4 Bobcat compact truck track loader. Mr. Elam?
Council, this is in regards to a budget item we had in the 2021 budget. Again, this is another item just so we can get it in the pipeline of build. We're looking at 60 to 90 days out. Councilmember Abernathy, it does have the warranty in here as well with 2 years and 2,000 hours, whichever does come first.
Yeah, I found it. And that's the price, 59.
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
So we got to cut down a little bit. I make that motion and we accept that bid.
Wagner, I'll second.
Okay, I have a motion and a second to authorize the purchase of a T470 T4 Bobcat compact track loader. Ms. Rhonda, would you please call the roll?
Butler,
Yes.
Wagner,
Yes.
Vogel,
Yes.
Schilling,
Yes.
Roden,
Yes.
Abernathy,
Yes.
Sullivan,
Yes.
Stanley.
Yes.
Next item on the agenda, excuse me. Discussion and possible action to authorize the city attorney to file suit to evict John Hall from block 46, City of Wagner, Oklahoma. Mr. Hicks, are you unmuted?
I am now.
Okay.
Council, I'll start off this conversation. City staff went to see John Hall a week or two ago so we can get the process moving of removing the fence, the T-posts, and all those items that Mr. Hall may or may not want to have, so we can move forward on the cemetery expansion. They had resistance at that point in time in regards to that they would potentially was going to fight the land property conversation. Therefore, we've requested to be able to take legal standings if we need to proceed forward so we can have the cemetery expansion. Mr. Hicks can fill any blanks if he wants to from that standpoint, but I think that covers it all.
That's correct. I think Kenneth Peters came to my office on Wednesday and said that early vacated the lot and that he was going to claim adverse possession of the block, I'm sorry. And wanted to know if I could get him off by the 8th because he had engineers coming. He had somebody coming on the 8th. And I said, Kenneth, there's no way I can do that. I'll have to go to court to get him off. That's the only thing I get a judicial order to do that. I can't do that by the 8th. And so since we couldn't do that, before I file suit, I would rather have the authorization of the council to do so.
I just want to put out to the council, I think Mr. Hall has been in front of us, and I thought he was all for this the last time. And
that's the way I understood it, but apparently he's changed his mind. Either that or we.
So is this the same block and everything that we had changed before? And so I thought I thought he was going to keep his horses on that property, or what am I missing?
He had fenced into, so the street is not open between his property and our property. So he had fenced all the way across the street and was utilizing the city cemetery property. And for our city staff to do any go ahead on the engineering that you guys approved, if we cut the fence down, his horses are going to get out. And my understanding is that he was going to be doing all of that and apparently has changed his mind.
Yeah, we was trying to give him adequate time, Councilor Schilling, to be able to relocate his horses and livestock if he had there, and then have the opportunity to take any of that fencing material that he wished, because it's useless to us. We've just come to a standstill and we need to move this project forward. So.
And to answer I guess maybe not a question, but to confirm the statement that yes, this is exactly the same piece of property that we were talking about when John came to the city council meeting. It's exactly the same piece of property.
Well, did we not vacate that street and close it?
We closed it. We did not vacate it.
Okay. Did we vacate this south half, or I can't remember what the exact.
We vacated the entire. No, wait. We closed the entire. There's a difference. There's a difference between closing and vacating. Vacating is a judicial action. You have to go to court to do that. The city can close the street. That's a legislative action. The city can close the street. The primary difference is that if a street is closed, we could reopen it without any, we could just pass a motion, I guess, to reopen it. If it's vacated, half of the street would be owned by Mr. Hall. And if we were to want to do that, we'd have to buy it, condemn it, or whatever. I mean, ownership would actually transfer. Title would transfer on a vacation. We did not vacate it, we closed it. We were going to vacate it, but Taylor decided that created a zoning problem, and then we'd have to rezone the cemetery because of the buffer areas. And anyway, so we just closed it. Oh, that part's okay. It's just it's the block itself. It's not the street. That's not, as far as I know, that's not what we're talking about. We're talking about
the issue is actually the real property is situated in the block, which is south of the street.
We're talking about the block itself. The city has a deed. The city has a deed for the property in 1921. It's that property that we're talking about, not the street.
Okay, thank you.
So we're talking about the whole block. Would it be the south of that, his house, and to the north of the cemetery?
Yes, sir.
Yes, that block, yes, exactly.
Yeah, I'm gonna try and look at that again on the map real quick, just to get myself there, so.
Yeah,
As you can tell, I wish I could tell you the street number. The street to the west and the street to the east are open, but the street that runs between Mr. Hall's property and the city's property has been closed.
Be 12,
And we're
be
talking
northeast
about
12.
property that is south of where the street would be.
I heard Miss Hash say it was northeast 12.
Yes, correct.
Yes, thank you.
So while they're looking at, I mean, is he just disputing ownership or disputing the deed, Dwayne, or do we even know?
He's claiming adverse possession in regards to the land. The same statement he's claiming, which happens to be where our city cemetery building is sitting on as well. So we can make that same argument if that's the way he wants to stand.
Okay.
Yeah, unfortunately, this is gonna have to take some court action, and what this is what's authorizing Ken to go forward.
We hold title to the deed of the land.
From 1921, my understanding.
Okay.
And we do have a cemetery maintenance barn that's been on there for a very long time. Mr. Schilling?
All right, just so now, yeah, I'm just trying to, like, we closed that road, which wasn't paved or anything, it was just a road, but he's had his horses all on that city property where that maintenance barn is. That's all fenced in, I guess, on that property. And that's where he's had them. So he still has that whole other area that's actually his property. Are the horses, I mean, I don't know, but.
Yeah, I don't know.
Basically, we're just trying to keep him on his property.
Absolutely. I think the agenda item is to let Mr. Hicks follow suit to evict him.
Okay.
I think where that house is, I think it's just all pasture because I don't even think there's a utility connection to that house at all.
Oh, okay.
And the horses is actually up on the city all the time, right?
But this has nothing to do with where his house is.
No. Right, but he's looking at that.
We're not trying to take anything where his house.
Yes, sir.
No.
Okay.
Yeah, we're just trying to get his horses off the property. Is that what it is?
We're just trying to get his horses off the property, and any fence, if he wants to take the fence up that is on city property currently, he can take that out, but we cannot go in there and start any construction or anything of that nature and run the risk of ending up into a lawsuit because the horses got out or whatever of that nature. His horses are occupying our land.
further discussion? I would entertain a motion.
This is Wagner, I'll make that motion.
Roden, second.
I have a motion and a second to authorize the city attorney to file suit to evict John Hall from block 46, city of Wagner, Oklahoma. Ms. Rhonda, would you please call the roll?
Butler,
Yes.
Wagoner,
Yes.
Vogel,
Yes.
Schilling,
Yes.
Roden,
Yes.
Abernathy,
Yes.
Sullivan,
Yes.
Stanley.
Yes.
Next item on the agenda, discussion and possible action to authorize the purchase of a remounted ambulance with trade-in of existing unit in the amount not to exceed $120,000. Would you unmute Jim if he's muted, please? Thank you.
Mayor, I'll start off and then I'll let Jim fill in the details.
Yes, sir.
If you guys will recall during the budgeting process, we talked about taking a remount unit. There's a couple of chassis that our supplier has. They're going through pretty quick. None of our payments will be in need of payment until next year. All we will have to do is rewrite our current loan with the bank, increase that amount. But what we've got an issue of right now is to be able to put our name on one of those chassis, and be able to take a fairly new remount and mount to that chassis so we can put a third new ambulance in service with the trade-in of one of our existing older ambulances, because they can use that out as a lease unit for other people that end up having breakdowns, et cetera.
Jim, is there anything you'd like to add?
Yes, our existing truck that we have is a 2003 box, and it's been remounted several times. So for safety and to get into current codes, it's going to be better for us to go this route because they're going to trade us a newer box that has never been remounted, and it meets better safety standards than our older box will.
Any further discussion? Would entertain a motion.
This is Wagner, so made.
I have a
Schilling,
motion.
second.
I have a motion and a second to authorize the purchase of a remounted ambulance with the trade-in of the existing unit in the amount not to exceed $120,000. Ms. Rhonda, would you please call the roll?
Butler,
Yes.
Wagoner,
Yes.
Vogel,
Yes.
Schilling,
Yes.
Roden,
Yes.
Abernathy,
Yes.
Sullivan,
Yes.
Stanley.
Yes.
Next item on the agenda is unscheduled public appearances. I received no emails concerning anyone wanting to speak tonight. Next item on the agenda is departmental reports. And I'm going to just start out with Ms. Dodson, if you would unmute her, since she's been on the longest. And we'll start with any we may have.
Thank you, Mayor. I know that you have your reports in your packets, and I think the biggest news for us is that we were very excited that State Question 802 did pass. So it was quite a relief for the rural hospitals, especially the rural hospitals in Oklahoma, for the expansion of Medicaid. Since the writing of this last week, you notice the COVID update. We still have had since the inception of COVID treatment and care of patients. We've had 5 positive patients. They were all treated successfully and released. And we have a couple of weeks ago started allowing 1 visitor per patient. So that restriction was lifted slightly. However, the masks are mandatory. So we are screening them at the ED entrance, and they're given their appropriate name badge and the sticker for the day to prove they've had their temperature and their screening for any possible symptoms of COVID. So we're being diligent about that. Are there any questions?
Okay, I guess the council has no questions for the hospital, so thank you, ma'am.
Thank you, sir.
Good job.
Freedom.
I'll have to be happy to entertain any questions you may have. City report should be in your packet. Several things are moving around and going on, as you're well aware of. This is our busy time of the year with construction, weather, et cetera. So I'd be happy to answer any questions council may have.
Hearing
I have
none.
I do. Well, I have a question. It's kind of about what we talked about earlier. That book of ordinances, since this is a city, do you guys have the hole punch machine where you can punch it and we can put it in a binder? Okay.
Yes, we do.
Yes, or I can actually,
Okay.
I can run you a copy on our copier will actually poke the holes in the copies as we run.
I mean,
them.
this is fine the way it is. We can just punch holes in it.
I have a better deal than that. I have a electronic version that has links in it. And so if you see fire department, you can actually search it for fire department. Or if you see fire department in the index, table of contents, there is no index, the table of contents, you can click on that and it'll take you to the section. But you won't have, as a matter of fact, when I gave that to Rhonda, I told her that I said, you know, the book that, I don't know if you can see me or not, but when I started the book,
He's got a bar.
like that. Now it's about like that. You guys been busy over there. Because these are ordinances that you packed version, or I'll get it to Rhonda and she can get it to you either way.
That'll
I
work.
actually have a copy of the hyperlink one that Mr. Hicks said. It's very easy. It makes it a lot easier than the printed one.
Awesome. Okay. Well, thank you guys. I appreciate it. And thanks for putting that big thing together too.
Yeah.
Thank you, Mr. Hicks. Rhonda, is there a way that you can email that to the counselors, or is it too large that it needs to be on a thumb drive?
No, it's about a meg. So
I believe Hicks got a virus.
probably everybody's email can handle that. I don't have everybody's address, but I'll get it to Rhonda, and she probably does, and she can forward it. That'd be okay, Rhonda?
Are you okay with that, Ms. Rhonda? If they all sent you an email requesting that, and then you can
Yes.
email it to them?
Yes, that'd be fine.
All right,
As long
thank
as-
you, ma'am.
yeah, as long as- I don't mind doing it as long as I had everybody's email address, which I don't.
That's fine. I can get it to them. It's not a big deal.
Okay.
All right. Is that it for departmental reports? Is there any other discussion? Next item on the agenda is adjournment. I would take a motion.
Swagger, I'll make that motion.
Butler, second.
A motion and a second to adjourn. Ms. Rhonda, would you please call the roll?
Butler,
Yes.
Wagner,
Yes.
Vogel,
Yes.
Schilling,
Yes.
Roden,
Yes.
Abernathy,
Yes.
Sullivan,
Yes.
Stanley.
Yes.
Meeting adjourned at 8:28. I'd like to call the Wagner Public Works Authority regular business meeting to order at 8:28. First item on the agenda is approval or corrections to minutes, June 1st, 11th, 15th, 2020.
I'll make that approval. Butler.
Wagner, second.
Have a motion and a second to approve minutes as stated. Ms. Rhonda, would you please call the roll?
Butler,
Yes.
Wagner,
Yes.
Vogel,
Yes.
Schilling,
Yeah.
Roden,
Yes.
Abernathy,
Yes.
Sullivan,
Yes.
Stanley.
Yes.
Next item on the agenda is approval or denial of claims WPWA to include 161 to 176. They are manual warrants, and special events fund 111.
Stanley will make a motion to approve all claims.
Bogle, second.
A motion and a second to approve all claims as stated. Ms. Rhonda, would you please call the roll?
Butler,
Yes.
Wagoner,
Yes.
Vogel,
Yes.
Schilling,
Yeah.
Roden,
Yes.
Abernathy,
Yes.
Sullivan,
Yes.
Stanley.
Yes.
Next item on the agenda is the chairman's report. As always, our critical infrastructure guys with Public Works will be wastewater, water distribution, electric. I would like to put a comment to Mr. Elam if he would express this dear gratification to the electric crew the other day when we had a power outage, as you're well aware of. It's pretty significant downtown, that they were able to get that backed up from that incident. If you would relay that in your meeting in the morning. And also, don't leave none of the other guys out of Public Works. From the water down to the disposal of our water. Next item, unless the board has any questions for the chairman. Next item on the agenda, discussion and possible action to declare assorted valves, lift stations, sheet metal, miscellaneous water, sewer equipment as surplus property and authorize the disposal thereof.
Members, this is some of the old valves we pulled out of the ground, lift stations of years past. Not necessarily the entire lift station, but the steel frame, et cetera. We're just trying to clean up the city yard down there and get some room. And this is time, past time actually, to get this issue took care of. So we're just trying to get some items cleaned up and cleared up out of here and probably take them to the recycling center and see whatever we're able to get of them for disposal.
Any further discussion or questions for Mr. Elam?
I make a recommendation to approve.
Roden, second.
Who made the motion?
I make a recommendation to approve. I did not make a motion. I can't.
Yeah, Mr. Roden, you seconded something. We don't have a motion on the floor.
I'll make a motion that we approve it.
Okay,
Second, Abernathy.
I have a motion and a second to declare sorted valves, lift station, sheet metal, miscellaneous water, sewer equipment as surplus property and authorize the disposal thereof. Ms. Rhonda, would you please call the roll?
Butler,
Yes.
Wagoner,
Yes.
Vogel,
Yes.
Schilling, Roden,
Yes.
Abernathy,
Yes.
Sullivan,
Yes.
Stanley.
Yes.
Next item on the agenda is discussion of possible action to declare a 2002 Bobcat skid steer loader surplus property and authorize disposal thereof. Mr. Elam?
This is currently one of our pieces of equipment. It's the reason we had to go out and end up with a new piece of equipment this year on the budget. This particular Bobcat has a blown engine. It's about 10, 12 years old, if I recall, maybe older than that. Actually, I think it is about 15 years old. But nonetheless, we've pursued every option trying to get the motor rebuilt and everything else. They've done away with this model. Nobody has it in existence. We do have a few leads as to other construction companies or entities that do have the same model. And if we're able to offload it to them for a price that we can at least get some a decent price back, that's what we're going to try to do. We're also in negotiations with Bobcat itself, the company, see if they can help find us a home for this. But before we can make any moves or move forward with this piece of equipment, we need to have it authorized by the board to be surplus and declared.
Make a motion that we declare the Bobcat as our Public Works Superintendent advised.
Butler, second.
I have a motion and a second to declare a 2002 Bobcat skid steer loader surplus property and authorize the disposal thereof. Ms. Rhonda, would you please call the roll?
Butler,
Yes.
Wagoner,
Yes.
Vogel,
Yes.
Schilling,
Yeah.
Roden,
Yes.
Abernathy,
Yes.
Sullivan,
Yes.
Stanley.
Yes.
Next item on the agenda is discussion of possible action Electric Department to hire Wesley Kelly as an apprentice lineman. Note, the board may adjourn to an executive session for the purpose of discussing the above item pursuant to Title 25 OS Section 307 B1. Do we need executive session?
No, sir.
Okay. Go ahead, sir.
As you guys may be aware of, we've had 2 openings in the electric department for 6 months or better. It's been pretty tight and tough to fill these positions. It's becoming more and more competitive in this trade. We did have, on Eric's recommendation, had some interviews set up. Eric Jones, the electric superintendent, wanted to make a recommendation for this individual to be hired at the entry level in the electric department. Therefore, I recommend to the board to hire Wesley Kelly at a rate of pay of $13.50, effective June 30th of 2020.
But the ultimate goal in that is forgiveness, is healing, it's restoration. That is really building something.
Any further questions for Mr. Eagles?
Needs are hard to feel safe.
What was that rate again? Sorry.
$13.50.
$8.50?
1350.
Okay. Thank you.
This Wagner, I'll make a motion to hire Wesley Kelly as apprentice lineman at $3.50 an hour. Excuse me. My apologies. $13.50 an hour. Start 6/30/20.
Bogle, I'll second.
Have a motion and a second to hire Wesley Kelly as apprentice lineman at the rate of $13.50 an hour, effective June the 30th, 2020. Ms. Rhonda, would you please call the roll?
Butler,
Yes.
Wagner,
Yes.
Bogle,
Yes.
Schilling,
Billy?
Yes.
Roden,
Yes.
Yes.
Abernathy,
Yes.
Sullivan,
Yes.
Stanley.
Yes.
Next item on the agenda is discussion and possible action to enter into a lease with Mail Finance for an e-delivery solution.
Chairman, if I may, you skipped item number 7.
No, I absolutely did. Sorry. Someone knocked on the door, so start over. Next item on the agenda is discussion and possible action to enter into an agreement with Infrastructure Solutions Group for engineering services for the Wagner Public Works Authority for the fiscal year 2020-2021.
Board, this is an identical service agreement that you've seen previously on the city. As you're well aware of, we have 2 different entities here, the city and the Public Works Authority. We just need to have an approved agreement through the Wagner Public Works Authority as well.
I would entertain a motion.
Stanley will make that motion.
Wagner, second.
A motion and a second to enter into an agreement with Infrastructure Solutions Group services for the Wagner Public Works Authority for the fiscal year 2021. Ms. Rhonda, would you please call the roll?
I'm sorry, I did not get the second. Who was my second?
Wagner.
Mr. Anthony
Thank you.
Wagner, I'm sorry.
That's all right. Thank you. Butler,
Yes.
Wagner,
Yes.
Bogle,
Yes.
Schilling,
Yes.
Roden,
Yes.
Abernathy,
Mr. Abernathy?
Did I do that?
I can hear him say yes to the wall. He must be
Okay.
muted.
Sullivan,
Yes.
and Stanley.
Yes.
Okay. As Wayne pointed out, I went to the wrong agenda item, so I know we're all, this meeting's been long, and I apologize for that. So next item on the agenda now is discussion and possible action to enter into a lease with Mail Finance for an e-delivery solution. Ms. Rhonda or Mr. Elam, would you like to take that?
I'm going to defer to you, Rhonda.
This is the e-delivery system that we talked about during the budgeting time. This will allow us to send out documents with our bills, and the customers can sign up to have their bills emailed rather than being mailed. We have a lot of requests for this now, and we don't have the ability to do it. And this will give us the software through our mailing system, and it will automatically print with the bill. They'll scan a barcode to sign up, It looks fairly simple to sign up. And it should save us some money eventually, hopefully pay for itself in postage and envelopes and things. And we did budget it this year.
Yes, it is a budgeted item.
Any further questions? I would entertain a motion.
Mr. Wagner, motion made.
Roden, second.
I have a motion and a second to enter into a lease with Mail Finance for an e-delivery solution. Ronnie, would you please call the roll?
Butler,
Yes.
Wagner,
Yes.
Bogle,
Yes.
Schilling,
Yes.
Roden,
Yes.
Abernathy,
Yes.
Sullivan,
Yes.
Stanley.
Yes.
Next item on the agenda, discussion and possible action to enter into an agreement with VIP Technology Solutions Group for disaster recovery, on-site, off-site backup for the water treatment plant. Mr. Eagle?
About a month and a half, 2 months ago, we had a lightning strike out at the water plant. It took out our hard drive from our computer. We was unaware of it. We was operating somewhat blindly for roughly 24 hours. Therefore, we took the hard drive, got it pulled back where they was able to bring everything back. In doing so, that brought the issue to light that we realized we need to have an off-site backup for that in case we ever lost all of our software and drives for the water plant. Therefore, through the budgeting process this year, I made sure we had this issue budgeted into the current fiscal year's budget. But as anything we sign a contract with, we want to take it before the board or the council for approval first. So that's what this agenda item is on tonight's public works agenda.
Any discussion?
Hey, Dwayne,
Yes.
I have a question. Do we have these offsite backups with our other facilities as well?
Yes, we do. This is the one thing we did not realize. We did not have the water plant in that. We have all the city offices, et cetera, in this format. Why the water plant slipped through, we really don't know, but it came light to us that we need to have this in there as well. But all the other offices do have an offsite backup.
Are they with this same company?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
And they're very receptive. I mean, if there's any kind of questions or problems with anything, they monitor these computers, our computers. Sometimes they tell us we have a problem before we know we have a problem. So we've been very satisfied with their work.
The one thing we don't want to have happen is we lose all of our operating system or our backup software, and then we have to have a come in, generate that, etc. We just don't want to go down that road, guys. And, like I said, for whatever reason, we failed to realize we didn't have the water plant in this contract services. So my recommendation to the board is that we allow to be able to do this, so we can add this in.
Any further questions on this budgeted item? I would entertain a motion.
I'll make that motion, Bogle.
Wagner, second. Okay, I have a motion by Bogle and a second by Mr. Wagner to enter into an agreement with VIP Technology Solutions Group for disaster recovery, on-site, off-site backup for the water treatment plant. Ms. Rhonda, would you please call the roll?
Butler,
Yes.
Wagner,
Yes.
Bogle,
Yes.
Schilling,
Yes.
Roden,
Yes.
Abernathy,
Yes.
Sullivan,
Yes.
Stanley.
Yes.
Next item on the agenda, unscheduled public appearances, there were none. Next item on the agenda, departmental reports. Mr. Elam?
Board, you have my report in front of you. I would like to make mention of 2 items specifically. If you'll notice on the front page, here about a month ago, roughly a month and a half ago, we was having a sewer backup issue. In regards to that, we took the camera down the line. As you can tell in the bottom right-hand corner, you see an ONG gas line right through the middle of our sanitary sewer system. Those type of issues, we don't know how many we may or may not have through the city, but a lot of times when we get the tort claims, et cetera, it very well could be due to issues such as this. So we filed a claim with ONG. Is actually their contractors that did this. We've recently received a check in regards for the damages of that nature. But I wanted to make note of that just to point out to the board in regards to some of the backup sewer issues or stuff that we may have challenges and encounter at times. There could quite possibly be stuff of this nature that's happened over the years that we're just unaware of underneath the ground. So I wanted you guys to be able to see that picture for one and realize the impact it can have. And if you'll notice in that, it has a lot of debris and trash from where it's just right there at the right angle, the right height to be able to clog stuff up. So unbeknownst to us and no fault of our own, these kind of challenges are what the sewer department and public works face on a daily basis in regards to sewer backups, et cetera. The other item I would like to point out is, I'm sure some of you guys have had some phone calls in regards to some electric links. We've been chasing this item for about a week and a half to 2 weeks. Constantly, we think we have it narrowed down and we hope we have the problem solved. But if you do encounter anything of that nature, of course, we'll get calls into the office. Please let us know. But I asked city staff and employees this morning, even in the office, if anybody was aware of anything over the weekend, the last part, and hadn't heard anything. So hopefully we've got the links resolved that we've been experiencing in the northeast part of town.
Mr. Elam, I apologize if there was a little bit of background noise when you talk about, were you saying electrical issue?
Yeah, we have had some electrical blinks on the electric distribution system in the northeast part of town.
Just make sure Mr. Wagner and I, we couldn't hear you.
Give an update to all the board just to understand what they're going on. And I think we have that problem resolved. We found an issue that Fiscal Pro pilot, what would be causing this. So, but that's one of those issues. We just got to see what time tells us.
Thank you, sir.
Yes, sir.
Any questions for Mr. Elam?
Thank you for the job you're doing.
Absolutely.
Thank you, sir.
Okay, next item on the agenda is adjournment. I would entertain a motion.